Okay, I'll call to order the city council meeting for August 26th, 2021. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call.
Steve Cherney.
Here.
Kevin Kadada.
Here.
Tim Rude.
Here.
Cindy Fuhr.
Here.
And Scott Palava. Here.
Okay, tonight's agenda goes through 10D. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Palava, second by Councilman Cherney. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of minutes. Consider approval of the minutes from the August 12th, 2021 regular meeting and the August 16th, 2021 special meeting. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes?
We approve the minutes.
Motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second.
second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There are no public hearings. Presentation of citizens' petitions and comments. Comments limited to 2 minutes. Anybody? Okay, on to the consent agenda. 3 items tonight: the monthly bills, the treasurer's report, and the board and commission minutes. Would anybody like any of those items pulled for discussion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second.
second by Councilperson Fuhr. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There is no old business. On to new business. City engineer transition. John Powell, city engineer, and Morgan Dolly, senior director of municipal services, WSB. Gentlemen, who's up to bat?
I'll lead off,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor and City Council members. It was not an easy decision, but I was pursued and accepted an offer from both companies working in their infrastructure group. They're an 80-year-old firm, 600-plus staff, and I believe it provides growth opportunities for me. Like I said, it wasn't an easy decision, but I did provide my notice to WSB that tomorrow will actually be my last day. I want to take a moment to thank staff who we work hand in hand with every day, and past and present elected officials for all your support during my time here at the City of Lonsdale. It's very reassuring when your opinions, your recommendations are respected, and when you sense that you have solid decision makers in your seats, and I appreciate that. With that, I'd like to introduce Morgan Dolly, and he'll talk about, introduce Nick Williams, the proposed city engineer.
All right, thank you,
Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Morgan Dolly. I'm the Senior Director of Municipal Services with WSB. Just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the City of Lonsdale for the ongoing, I think, just about 17-year relationship in terms of providing professional services to the City of Lonsdale. And certainly to thank John for his years of service with WSB, for all of you all, and also his other clients and with WSB. He's been a valued team member in our municipal group and municipal division, has provided just a huge amount of value, I think, with his knowledge and expertise. And we will miss him, and we wish him all the best of luck in his future endeavors. You might ask yourself, what is my role? What's Morgan's role in this whole thing? So as Senior Director of Municipal Services, and in my experience as a city engineer of record for 3 different communities for just about over 20 years, I'm here to assist all of you and Mr. Erickson as the city administrator in this transition. We've taken some time to carefully think about what's most important in terms of trying to keep our clients happy, continuation of provision of cost-effective services, to try to make that transition as seamless as possible, knowing that there may be some things that we need to learn and transition. John has done an excellent job. I was just thanking him before the meeting in terms of providing very clear path of what are the current issues, current projects, current things to think about. And so I'm very confident that this transition is going to go well. Any extra time is going to be on our dime and not billable to the city in terms of getting up to speed if there is anything additional. So really my expectation for our group and our team and for WSB working with the city of Lonsdale moving forward is that we try to make this as easy for you and as easy for Joel as it possibly can be. We've put some careful thought and consideration into a replacement city engineer for all of you, which I'd like to introduce him here tonight and give him an opportunity to introduce himself to all of you, give you a little bit of a flavor of what his experience is, what his background is. We think he's well suited to pick up the excellent track record that John has left here for the city of Lonsdale and carry that ball forward into the future and finish things that have started, and looking forward really with eager anticipation to do a really positive job on any future challenges or projects that the city might want to pursue moving forward. So again, thank you, first of all, and thank you, John. But I'd like to bring up Mr. Nick Williams, who is an engineer with WSB with a fair amount of experience, which I'd like to have him give you a little bit of explanation on, and certainly be available to answer any questions that you might have. And maybe before he comes up, do you have any questions of me at all at this time? Okay, great. Nick, could you come on up and maybe tell the mayor and council a little bit more about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Pleasure to be here this evening. Looking forward to the opportunity to be part of the Lonsdale team. A little bit about me. 20 years of experience in municipal engineering, experience both in the public and private sectors. I was a city engineer and public works director for a city in California for about 5 years. Been with WSB 6 years now. Was a city engineer for the city of Afton for about 3 years. Currently the assistant city engineer in Matamidi, where I manage all their capital improvement projects. Really love that opportunity there. Get a chance to work closely with the public works director there and manage all their construction projects. So actively involved with the construction phases of all the projects, and get to work with public works. Again, the construction phase is something I really like. I'm the type of guy who's going to be out there kicking the dirt around. I'm not going to be in my office. I want to solve problems out there and work with the construction inspector and the contractor. So with that, one project I can maybe mention that I worked on was in Afton. It was a downtown revitalization project, multi-year construction project. Redid all their streets downtown, new sanitary sewer, new storm sewer, pedestrian facilities, reconstructed levee, you name it. We did everything. One of those once in a lifetime projects. Went really great. Got it done, under schedule and under budget, and won a few awards along the way. So it was a great project. So with that, happy to be here. Looking forward to the opportunity. If there's any questions you got, I'd be happy to answer. Again, my goal is to hopefully transition as quickly as possible and get up to speed as quickly as I can. Already was at a weekly meeting today for the 2021 project, so getting up to speed on that. I know there's a neighborhood meeting coming up on the 9th that I would be ready to present on. So with that, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, Joel, I guess you mentioned that you kind of went around town a little bit with them, or? Did you have
Yes, this morning we met before our 10 o'clock weekly construction meeting and looked at the next year's phase. Went over some things that, some drainage things, kind of not necessarily the who's who, but, hey, we should make sure we have to focus on this, and drainage, and kind of going over what our, kind of how we got to where we are, kind of starting with, spot curb and no curb and gutter repair, spot curb and gutter, kind of our evolution to where we are now. And as I was talking with the mayor, a lot of the things that we went over, Nick was in agreement with and thought that they were good ideas and had implemented those in the past. So in WSB, they've been good on the transition. I've been in regular communication with Monica up in their office as far as reviewing Nick's information, touching base on what our expectations are, where we are on projects. I know John and all the WSB team work diligently to make sure there's a smooth transition. So I'm looking forward to a smoothless transition or smooth transition, and getting on with their projects.
Yes, that one, Your Honor.
Sure.
Nick, Steve Turney.
Hey, nice to meet you.
I was a new council member 4 years ago, and the most valuable thing to me as far as John, it was a relationship where I could call him, and he would pick up the phone, and he would respond, and he was very patient with me.
Sure.
And that boded very, very well. And if you're like John in that respect, I applaud you, but that really worked well for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm one of those guys who's always available. So if you got questions, give me a call. I'll be happy to talk anytime.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
I think you're coming in at a good time. We have the road project, for 2022 just
Yep,
getting
coming up.
underway.
Yep.
And hopefully John has it started for you well and take it and run.
Yep, Mayor and council members, and I don't know if Nick has any additional comments, but, yeah, the 2022 project is all teed up. Nick will put together the PowerPoint for the neighborhood meeting and the public hearing. I just wanted to take a moment and reflect that Morgan, this is the second recent transition he's held. As you recall, Kevin Kaluski passed away tragically, and that's when Morgan talked to me about taking over Lonsdale on a very, after a very serious event. And Joel was very good about helping me get up to speed, and I anticipate that Nick will do the same and just carry on the tradition of Kevin's great work also.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I do just want to add that, John, I think I can speak for the council, but we really appreciate all your work. I certainly like your professionalism about things, even some of the audience, obviously some of those assessment hearings aren't always, the most favorable, but I think you did a great job and you represented the city very well, and I just want to give you a big shout out for all the
Thank
good
you.
work you did. Yeah,
Thank you.
Good. Good.
Thank you and best of
Thank
luck.
you,
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Consider approval of resolution 2021-46, a resolution approving the classification and potential sale of non-conservation forfeited land. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. The city has been requested to consider the proposed resolution from Rice County. The property in question is 121 Main Street North, would be Lonsdale Oil. The three options that the city has in this process is obtain the parcel for a public purpose, which would essentially be parkland, approve the sale to adjacent property owners. In conversations with Rice County, what their intent, or they believe the intent of the statute is not so much to just, the two adjacent, well, I guess it would be, because the adjacent property owners would be us and Lonsdale Hardware. But the intent of that is if it's a non-conforming lot, too small, blighted, things like that, where it could be, adjoined to a property and make that better, to eliminate the non-conforming lot size, for example, or approval of the parcel to the general public. That's what, based on my discussions with Rice County, that's my recommendation and how the resolution is written. Just a quick update on the parcel. I'm sure you guys have seen they're filling the tanks here this week, and I believe in September they're going to come back and do soil borings to test for any contamination. So I guess from what I've been told about the tanks, they seem to be in decent shape and are anticipating that any cleanup or remediation prior to filling them will go smoothly. I haven't heard anything to the contrary since they've been on site this week. So by approving the proposed resolution, the council stating that the city does not have a public purpose for the parcel, agreeing with Rice County on the classification and sale of the parcel, approving the parcel for public auction, and then requesting that the special assessments levied against the parcel with the Main Street reconstruction project be paid with the proceeds of the sale.
Can you explain how this process is going to actually work? I know there's people have been kind of inquiring on, the opportunities to purchase it or bid on it or whatever.
Yep, we have received several phone calls at City Hall asking about use and cost. Basically what will happen is it's a sheriff's sale, it's a foreclosure, there'll be an auction. I do believe that they're going to have an open house for 1 hour sometime leading up to the auction, but it'll be an auction led by Denise Anderson, the county property tax election corporate director. Everyone will the public will have an option to bid on it, and the high bid will receive the parcel.
So how can we, and I don't know even if we can, but how do we prevent somebody purchasing it basically for a warehouse and not retail? I mean, do we have zoning, or is there something we have to implement to achieve that, or how do we?
So I did receive a phone call from a business in Faribault, and he was asking some questions, and I said, well, that's fine and dandy, but I said, have you looked at our zoning code? Because I don't want to be day one knocking on your door saying, hey, that's great you bought it, but your use is not permitted. And then it's on, right? So he was going to take a look at the zoning code. I could work with the county, at least provide them our B3 zoning district, and then also see if I can provide copies of our zoning code for that public inspection.
So my question is that, so a B3, and I get that, but how do you prevent it from actually being not a warehouse, but actually an opening, functioning business? I mean, can we control that now within a zoning requirement?
We would be able to control it within our zoning requirements. If the property owner continued to, be non-compliant, then we would have to commence legal action and unfortunately deal with it that way.
Well, I think obviously the point is we have two existing buildings right now, or all three actually, that we can't seem to get open or operational. So is there teeth within our zoning ordinance that would enforce that, or can that be advertised at the time of the sale, or anything like that?
Right now, it would just be permitted and non-permitted uses.
Your Honor, do you have
No, go
further
ahead.
discussion?
Go ahead, sure.
This topic of the focal point of our town, Main Street, has been with me for 5 years now. And you know what talking I've done to different landowners down there, but I look at this property as an opportunity of the city. Until we take a hard look at redevelopment and actually define that down there for that part of our town, till we do that, it's what we have in the ordinance right now is what we have. It doesn't fit turning that into taking a diamond in the rough and turning it into a diamond. So straight up, I'd like to say to the council to consider, here's an opportunity for us to actually buy that. There's tax and assessment against it that for us is about almost $9,000. The mitigation issue of the barrels, I don't know what that costs, but I do know that when I looked into that property a couple of years ago, you could pick it up for probably about 30 grand. Now, I know we as a council have purchased, like up there on the hill, land for redevelopment and adjacent to the police station and then that other parcel where I live in front of me. And that's great, the intention is to develop that. Here, I think we have an opportunity not to let this parcel go, pick it up, put it in our pocket. It doesn't mean we can't sell it later, but it gives us an opportunity to kind of take a deep breath on this. Joe mentioned blight. If that, I didn't quite pick that up, where that was fitting in. That is a blighted building. There's no doubt about it,
I agree with
Your
that.
Honor.
I agree.
And I just think it's a golden opportunity for a very small amount of money, since we already have $9,000 invested in it, to pick that up.
Maybe we should, you clarified, said the city basically can't buy it.
Well, we can't receive it for a public purpose. We've obtained land from forfeited land in the past, like the wetland down across the street from the school, and we took that as a public purpose. We got trails in there now, kind of wetland area. The city could buy it, but we would be bidding at the auction. And we would have to, adopt a resolution authorizing, the mayor, myself, whoever, to bid on it and cap the price.
Your
Kind of
Honor,
a not to exceed bid.
So we
Yeah.
can't acquire it prior?
Your Honor, let me,
Okay, go ahead.
I have a difference of opinion, not opinion, of fact. I talked to the county assessor about this a few months ago.
Okay.
And she laid out for me the different options. And one of the options is, hey, Lonsdale, if you want it, you can have it, but you're gonna be responsible. At that time, we would be responsible for any mitigation.
Right.
I had done research about a year and a half prior to that, Mankato at the state level, and said, well, there's fuel barrels, but they've been sealed, and they had the paperwork, and they can provide it, but since then, of course, you know, they found that there was 3 feet of fuel in there. But anyway, the point being, the county assessor said, hey, we don't really want it, we'd like, you know, any county taxes and all of it, but you guys have an investment here, if you want it, you can have it. So I'd like a clarification, I'll make the I'll call her myself and talk to her, because I was under the impression that we could take it. And now we'd have to pay for that mitigation issue, Your Honor.
'Cause I think that's, I mean, if we could acquire it prior, that's one
Right.
thing. I don't think we
Right.
should get into a bidding
No,
war
no,
with.
no, I agree.
I don't agree with
I
that
agree.
either.
I'll make the call tomorrow, Your Honor, if you want.
I don't. You got thoughts? I don't know. I mean,
But we have to identify what the public use is, just to have it,
I don't know if that's true, Scott.
That
Let
was
me
a-
clarify.
That was a question I was gonna have, you know, if it'd have to expand the park
Mitigation
or
of blight.
something, then really we wouldn't have a use for it, but.
You know, mitigation of blight. We've been letting that blighted building there for some time now, but I think it's worth kicking it around a little bit.
okay, so if we could acquire it, you know, from mitigation of blight or whatever, and we acquire it, then we could sell it ultimately to a business.
Yes, after we've redefined the area
I see.
down there. To try, not to turn business away and say, hey, it's not zoned, so you can't come to town. I'd like to know what that business, who that was that Joel talked to. Maybe it's time to take a look at the ordinance here and see who wants to come to town, rather than stop them from coming to town.
Well, my point is, you just don't want somebody to buy it for a storage building. That's really what.
Right, we don't want,
you
no, but we want, that's a nugget, possible
Right.
nugget.
The company that called me from Faribault was a roofing/home building company.
Good, I'm glad you turned them away. Anyway.
Do you think it'd be smart to have Joel and maybe our lawyer look into this and see what our legal options would be if we would obtain this parcel?
Kevin, I don't mind making the call if you trust me. to
Right,
do
but
that.
I think I'd rather have it come from Joel and our lawyer.
Well, I'll
so
pass the
it's-
information on, at least make that call first rather than get them going.
Right.
It's a simple call.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, you'd like to have like the hardware storage space,
Right.
for example.
Exactly.
That would be the best case. I mean,
And,
right
and
now.
Russ, I talked to Russ this week, and he's right on top of this as far as he's in direct communication with the county and the whole process there, so, but I don't know how much.
Well, I mean, is it?
I've even talked to the Department of Revenue, and the city cannot get it for free and flip it. But I can follow up tomorrow and get
I-
confirmation on that.
Right.
I wasn't alluding that we get it for free at all. Joel, not at all. I'm saying that we could purchase that, was what my understanding was.
So my question is this urgent to pass this resolution, or can we table it for the next council meeting? To do more research?
There is
Deadline?
a time period, but if the council wants to table it, we can do,
I mean, I think we should at least table
More
and just double
research,
check.
2 weeks.
It's not gonna hurt to double check and make sure if, obviously, I think our goal is to acquire it so a functioning business
Yes.
can operate on Main Street. I mean, that's what the whole BRA, RE, and all that kind of
Yes,
stuff is.
Your
That's the
Honor.
whole, we just cannot have another.
The storage bin.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly right. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't try our very hardest
Yes,
to
sir.
accomplish that.
Yes, sir.
you know.
If we were able to purchase it or whatever for a set-on price with the county,
Mhm.
pay for the mitigation and do that, then we may be able to get some teeth in our contract and,
There
with
you
the
go.
purchaser,
There you
where,
go.
just
There
like we
you
did
go.
on the commercial land, you have to develop this in a year, you can't just.
Kevin, good thought.
Well, I just think all the effort that you guys have spent on this
Yes.
BRE and trying to promote the downtown, all this kind of stuff, and then, we maybe miss an opportunity to open up a building, would be kind of unfortunate, But I mean, if there's no urgency, I think at a minimum, we should at least table the resolution, give us a chance to.
And I'll make the call tomorrow, I know. And then I'll pass it on to Joel, or you, Your Honor, should I call you?
Well, yeah, or you call Joel, I mean, we
Okay.
should, we're all
Yeah, we're part of the,
the whole team,
okay.
So So I guess then I'd entertain a motion to table unless you got other
Motion
thoughts.
to table, Your Honor, let's
I do have one question. Joel, the assessment that's on, is that include interest?
That amount was the principal.
Okay. So we will waive the interest then, is that our, or,
Yeah, and the only way we get our assessment if the bids get that high.
okay.
I mean, we may get none of it.
Right.
We may get half of it.
What, is the county a priority? Who has priority?
The priority would be the recoup the cost for remediation, and then our assessment.
I mean, I
And
I
then
could
from
see
there,
that,
it
I
would
could
be
see
the
that site,
back
if it's
taxes.
mitigated, I mean, I could see that getting 50 grand or something,
Thank you.
hey, you know? Thoughts, anybody? Otherwise, there's a motion to table.
Motion to table, Your Honor.
I'll second that.
Second by Councilman Kadada. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Counsel.
Okay. On to consider approval to schedule a public hearing on ordinance 2021-306, an ordinance amending City Code Chapter 33, City Council. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Throughout our 2022 budget meeting process, the council at the last meeting agreed to increase council compensation. The process, as we reviewed in the past, is the ordinance has to be adopted before the election, so before November 2nd, and would take effect after the first of the year. Staff's recommending that the public hearing be held on October 14th at 7 p.m. or shortly thereafter. And the red line version of the proposed ordinance is in your packet. I did make some non-material changes as I was reading through it, as far as, like, for example, emergency meetings. It said the city administrator shall make a good faith effort to contact news gathering organizations that have filed a request for notification of the meeting. Well, other people can request notifications for the meeting. Added library to the committees, along with the EDA, Park Board, and Planning Commission. And then the compensation, I know there was discussion on the per meetings or the per month. I went back to the tape and listened to it, and at the end, it was $300 a month for city council members and $400 a month for the mayor. So that change has, as was discussed and agreed on, was made. As far as the fiscal impact, the cost is about $2,400 a year increase in city council compensation. The alternatives would be not approve the public hearing and not increase wages. We adopt our city council compensation by ordinance, which is recommended by the state auditor. I did reach out to the city attorney to see if there could be a escalator or a CPI increase annually. And his recommendation is just to specify a specific amount. He did say here that he did find a couple examples of cities who do have the automatic adjustment according to the CPI. But his comment here is that seems like it would be subject to challenge. So I guess my recommendation would be to set the flat fee and increase it every couple years. But there does seem that there are cities out there that do have the inflationary factor in there.
So the flat fee, so you'd have to have hearings every time you want to increase it?
Correct. Yep.
You know, I have an opinion on that. The COLA aspect, I call it COLA, cost of living. Since we administer the rest of our city that way, I think we should, and it hasn't been challenged to my knowledge, I think it's fair to do it.
I mean, I think that's what we talked about.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would vote in favor of that,
And that would just follow the,
and whatever the folks get.
Oh, we'd have to set
Statewide or-
a time period, August to August,
Right.
or, it's supposed to be going, every 2 years, or it'd be annually, I guess, but
I
you'd have to
mean,
set a date
I
like
think
in
the intent of the
PD.
council is to, like Councilman Attorney said, is to follow the staff's, annual raises. I think we wouldn't want more than that, but I think I mean, at least you got a justification for a raise. You know, it's just
Yeah.
not a random, let's pick this
You know,
number.
The council,
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with you guys. You haven't raised your salary since, well, quite frankly, '06.
Right.
And then during an allotment, to lead by example, took a pay cut
Right.
for 1 year. So there's no doubt an increase is certainly justified.
So I guess right now, we're looking to just to schedule the hearing, but I guess if you could research that if we could accomplish
The COLA.
or whatever you want to term
Cost
it.
of living.
Well, I just said that. The city attorney is recommending you do not
Yeah, but
include it.
we're saying we're disagreeing with him. And we're gonna, since the rest of the city, as we administer the cost of living index to the rest of the city, we wanna be like that. And that's the way, Your Honor, the mayor brought it up originally.
Yeah, I'll just include it. I don't.
Yeah, just include it.
I've already done the research.
Let's
so-
just
Right,
include it,
okay.
we'll have a public hearing and go.
Okay, so that,
I
I
didn't
make
want
a-
to go over this because this will be, what's in this packet will be what's presented at the public hearing, correct?
So that will be a minute, Your Honor, how do you understand?
okay, so right now, we're just approving the schedule of the public hearing.
Correct.
Not what's in the hearing, just the scheduling.
Right, but
So-
you kind of have to have it set so you can discuss it at
Right.
the
Right.
public hearing.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna.
And you're looking
approve-
at consistent with 3.5?
Yes.
Yeah, whatever is that what we're proposing for the police or the public works or staff?
Correct, yeah, that 3.5 is not tied to any CPI for the upper
Right.
Midwest urban region or anything like that. It's just 3.5.
Okay.
And that may be why they're not, have not been subject, or have not been challenged, because they go with the CPI, which is a percentage that they don't make up.
Right.
It's an outside.
So if you have a
Dolly's
predetermined
making it up.
percentage, it's likely to fly.
It's like a budget.
Right, okay. Okay, motion by Councilman Cherney,
Yes, sir.
Second.
second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval to schedule a public hearing on special assessments for delinquent accounts on October 28th, 2021 at 7 PM or shortly thereafter. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Every year, we assess delinquent accounts. As of right now, I don't know what that amount's gonna be. About a month from now, the last week of September, we're resuming our water shutoffs, so I'm anticipating the amount due now or past due will be substantially less. So we're probably looking at a fire call or two and any abatement of nuisances, tall weeds and grass, things like that. But staff's recommending that the hearing be scheduled for October 28th, 2021 at 7 PM or shortly thereafter.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second?
second by Councilperson Fear. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me, opposed? Motion carries. That concludes the planned agenda. On to department reports. Mr. Powell, anything else?
Mayor and council members, thank you again. From a project standpoint, Nick mentioned that he attended the weekly construction meeting. The concrete work was expected to be completed today. They will tolerance class 5, and they've got paving, bituminous base paving scheduled for the 31st.
Nice.
After the base is in, they'll proceed with tree and turf restoration. Unfortunately, on the Second Avenue Southwest area, we have located a water service leak in the villa's driveway. A1 Excavating is in the process of scheduling that repair work. And also, as I mentioned before, the 2022 project will have the neighborhood meeting at the first meeting in September and the public hearing at the second meeting in September. We're about, I would say 3-4 weeks ahead of our typical schedule because we did do 2 years worth of projects last year, and so we've saved a little time already due to that action. So we'll still be bidding easily December and we'll be bids early in the year again, maybe first of the year.
Okay, a couple things. As far as that water leak, I actually don't think it's unfortunate. I think it's good that we found it, and it's good that the contractor's gonna repair it. So I think that's really good, actually. So in the current bidding environment, and obviously, typically in December and January, you get your best bids, but have you noticed any sizable increases, or bids seem to be pretty competitive in the market lately, or?
Mayor and council members, we're still finding bids are competitive. If we stay on our current schedule, we'll do another cost, or Nick will do another cost estimate just prior to bidding. We'll have a much better sense then, but we're not anticipating any big increases that would, be a 20% increase on our budget or anything like that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you again for all your work, and best of luck to you in the future.
Thank you.
Mr. Erickson?
Well, working with WSB on the transition, working on elections, ballots are ready to go, working on securing election judges, so I'll be bringing that, I think, to the next council meeting to appoint them. Working with Police Chief Schmitz and negotiating the upcoming PD collective bargaining agreement. We're meeting on Tuesday. I hope to have everything wrapped up at that meeting. Working on BRE initiatives of the EDA. As was stated earlier, we've got our neighborhood meeting on our 22 project, so those notices will go out early next week to provide almost 2 weeks' notice. Improvement hearings coming up, so we'll get that mailed notice, published notice out. And continuing to plug away in the budget. Our next meeting is Monday, joint meeting with the Planning Commission, and then I have 1 or 2 enterprise funds to go over.
Okay, good. Thank you, sir. Mr. Baker?
Back when LGI came in with their sales center, we wrote up an agreement for our interim use permit to put in trees on the south side of the parking lot there. We were able to put into that permit that they needed to transfer those trees over to some city property. So they did that here over the past week. We had always talked about putting in trees on the south side of the wastewater treatment plant to help screen that, and so that was done, and then we had some timely rain, so that was good. We are up to over 900 permits this year. 508 of them are re-roof permits. So we're tracking $40,000 to $50,000 more in revenue than we normally would for that portion. So,
Okay.
so yeah.
My question is, we kind of touched on this before, and this is kind of a big picture thing, but I noticed here on your report, this is actually for Monday night's meeting, but you're down to like 59 standard lots. That's all that's remaining, and I think 5 to 10 are, basically not buildable or not ideal. So I mean, we're probably within maybe only 1 year of lot inventory. As I kind of mentioned too, and I put a call into a couple of developers, and the cost of lots is going to be so expensive to develop in today's market. I'm just wondering, we probably should be thinking though how we're going to continue to, promote lots or promote development. I don't know if anybody's got thoughts on that. Maybe Monday night there should be at least a topic we should consider of, how are we going to get to 2023, or whatever.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue. Ben's done, all right? Ben, are you finished?
Yep.
Okay, that's a perfect segue because again, something we've been kicking around. The big attraction to Lonsdale, as we all know, and this whole room knows, is the fact that you get a hell of a lot more house out here than you could in Lakeville.
Right.
Okay, that seems to be shrinking, coming to a close. So then the next iteration is what attracts people or keeps people in Lonsdale, and then that's the aspect of the BRE. It really is, Your Honor.
Right.
And the focus is that we take our diamond or the rough diamond and make it a diamond. And so it's a perfect segue. I think we can't afford $100,000 lots right now, and so this is a good time. I do have one question though for John, if I may.
Sure.
Okay, John, we've kicked around the idea of a moratorium on infrastructure, maybe stop for 1 year, on projects, and focus redirected like on the parks, trails and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Having the momentum that we have now and the acceptability that the public has for this momentum in the budget that we can do this. Should we abandon that, or should we keep the idea that a moratorium would have enough of an effect, monetary effect, to transfer money into the trails and some of these other things, in your opinion?
Mayor and council members, I hope what I've been good about over the years is not answering questions that are not engineering questions. That's really a funding question, but from a condition standpoint,
Yes,
we have taken a pause in the past. I would see this after next year's project as an appropriate time for a pause. Basically, the city has done everything in the old town south of 19. That's all replaced, that's all new systems. I think that's a very appropriate time to have a pause, look at your other needs, look at trails. We have tremendous trail needs, and maybe some mill and overlay type projects. So I think that's still a good plan.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Thank
So now, Nick, did you catch that answer?
Yes.
You see how smooth that was?
That was purposeful, Nick.
Appreciate that. Anything else?
That $5.
Anything else, Mr. Attorney?
No, thank you.
Councilman Kadada?
Only thing I have is planning and zoning will be meeting with the city council on the budget on Monday at 6 PM. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Councilperson Fuhrer?
The EDA met last week, and we are looking into doing some signage for downtown businesses. So that was one of the pieces on the agenda. Also, are continuing with LoopNet as far as marketing the business park. And then all the 3 different BRE groups are having their meetings and getting launched into those project areas. So it'll be interesting to see what each group comes up with.
Good. Well, thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Councilman Palava?
Well, Cindy covered the EDA aspect. The PD, we met yesterday. We actually have bricks and tip-up panels. They're being made. The colors are right. So we're moving forward with that.
Baby steps, you know.
Yep. There was a delivery of some of the construction steel earlier this week, so starting to get some stuff there. The site is actually doing really good after all the rain, so.
Is there anything going on there? Is there any work they can do?
Right now, it's pretty dead.
That's too bad.
But the concrete, the panels and stuff are, in construction, and so we are holding them to that final completion date. They're gonna make it work.
Good.
So, but that was the big thing, was getting the bricks and the panels to match as we ordered them. So that's there, and the original reason for the delay, we gave them like a 4-month extension right when we started. That was for the roof bar joists, and those are on schedule. So realistically, once the walls are up, they'll be able to put the roof on. So it's going to be bam, bam, bam. It's going to be very,
Are we
very
expecting
noticeable.
before winter? Or are we still?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, they're still planning on paving and curb and gutter
Good.
before the grounds froze.
Good.
Very good.
Good. Okay, I don't have too much other than, the Lonzo Community Days. I think all of us were there in some respect, but I just thought it was a remarkable success. I mean, I think that parade, that's probably the most children I've ever seen at a parade in Lonsdale. But I do want to give a big shout out to Councilman Palava and his family, and Shanna, the chamber director, and all the volunteers. I mean, in talking to some of you guys, I mean, I think you must have worked, 36 hours straight or whatever. I just can't say enough, because you can't do it without volunteers, obviously. So you've done a really good job, Public Works, the police department. I mean, all you guys. It was a tremendous success, and and really made Lonzo pretty proud. Pretty nice deal. So just want to thank all you guys. So.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all I have.
We adjourn.
Motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second?
Second by Councilperson Fuhrer. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.